You face the boss of blades.
Hello, Knight. You are the number one player for the October ladder season. So I would like to conduct an interview with you, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, that's why I'm here.
So what is your preferred name and your in-game name?
Yeah, so I'm David. I use he, him pronouns, and my in-game name is Knight.
All right. And what decks did you play this season to reach number one?
Yeah, I mean, I started out like I do every season. Well, I guess since it was a 2-month reset, I started in September just kind of screwing around, doing whatever. And then, I got pretty high up and I started switching up to like Garruk and Nahiri. Nahiri was fun for the earlier grind because you get through those games faster. It doesn't matter as much if you lose, and you can still get a lot of trophies that way.
Yep.
Then I kind of switched over to Garruk just for the higher win percentage. But I got sick of Garruk after a while. There's only so much Garruk I can play.
Understandably.
I played a lot of Garruk in previous seasons, getting up to top 10, top 5. So I tried experimenting. I think it was Kohaku sent me this interesting Vraska list that I don't remember where he got it. I don't think he knew. But I changed 2 cards and had like a great win streak with that list. And then I switched to Nissa and stayed on Nissa for the rest of the season.
I love Kohaku. Me and him work on a lot of stuff sometimes. He's a great player. What would you say would be some of your best matchups?
Like with Nissa specifically?
With any deck you want to say, like any particular matchup, like Garruk versus Teferi, for instance, or something.
Here, I'll start with Nahiri. Nahiri is so matchup dependent. It's really bad on that note. Like, I love playing Nahiri. It's great aggro deck, but you just kind of fold to a lot of matchups. And then some matchups, though, like against Jace, are almost like auto wins. So Nahiri is very coin flippy that way. Garruk, I think, can beat anything, especially because I main board 2 treetop lookouts. Teferi's not a problem at all. I can force through Jace's remands.
Yep.
Garruk is just really strong. And with the 2 Silent Strike build, you can break through anything. I think one of the matchups I'll highlight is bad matchups against Liliana, just because if someone's playing a true casino reanimator list, anything can lose to that garbage of turn 2 Corpse Conveyor, turn 3 Grim.
Yeah, I was just going to say, turn 3 Grim basically is a scoop for any Garruk list.
Yeah, I mean, I can beat turn 3 Grim with my Nissa deck if I have like Birds of Paradise into a Pixie Trickster, but like, it's still pretty bad.
It's not going to do.
Yeah.
What would you say? Well, I mean, you answered my next question already. What are some of your worst matchups?
Yeah. Casino Liliana with a passion. I played it a little bit, but just to see how it runs, and it's still just terrifying. It's nasty.
I love that deck. You know it.
One of these days, I'm going to bring it to a Mythic tournament because I'm still trying to keep up. I bring a new Spellslinger to each Mythic tournament streak.
An admirable goal.
I might fold and bring Nissa, who knows? Because there were so many Garruk entries this month that I kind of want to just bring Nissa next month because Nissa has a matchup against Garruk. And, since Tino brought Garruk, I feel much safer bringing Nissa. But I would have to break my own rule, so we'll see.
Because he's not allowed to bring it next time, that's why.
Exactly.
Who or what was your greatest inspiration for trying to reach number 1?
I wouldn't say who. Though I did note like Yukin's 7,000 trophy season as just something incredibly wild.
Absolutely crazy.
Yeah. I know that trophies were like a little different back then, but still an incredible accomplishment. I don't know that I have like a who there. But as far as to what, I had made top 10, I'd been 4th before, and I was like, I should just get a number 1 dub. At some point, I should do it. I play way too much of this game. I definitely think I'm an addict. It's not good, but I really love it. It's a great game. It's more fun than Arena.
Absolutely.
I wish they were still updating it.
I do too.
But I'm pretty into this game. I really like the Mythic tournaments, and I figured I just want to take on number 1 at least once, and this was the season to do it for me.
It's a good time. What would you say, not necessarily the best, but what is your favorite deck to play?
Well, It's probably not any of my like ladder decks, because you just get burnt out. Right now, I'm experimenting with Vivian builds because I think it'd be fun to bring her to a Mythic tournament, even though she's kind of RNG dependent.
That is true.
But I think overall, I like aggro a lot more than I like mid-range or control. So even like some simple Chandra decks can be fun. I don't know. My favorite deck just changes so much because you play a lot of one thing and you want to switch to something else.
Oh yeah, deck variety definitely would help against burnouts, and as you know, I actually love playing combo decks.
Yeah. I will say one deck that I really enjoyed and I've never gotten burned out on is the Johnny Control.
Love a Johnny
that
Control.
Invented. I've never gotten burned out on that, but I also haven't played as much of it.
Yep.
I think you just have to think so much about your lines and your choices and what's left in your deck that it provides a good challenge. So I really enjoy it.
It's a very skill-intensive deck.
Yeah. I mean, the one time I brought the Johnny deck to the Mythic League tournament, I played against a Kiora playing, 2 Pixie Trickster. What else was in there?
He had 2 Mist Ravens, 2 Pixie Trickster. I think you ran Daybreaks even.
I don't know. It was a lot of the stuff that didn't kill my cards, but instead
Transformed.
Because I know he hit both my Goyves, one of my Yaks, and he hit everything, and it was just the most miserable match I've ever played in my life.
Yeah. What is the best deck in the format, and why is it Reanimator Liliana?
Okay. Great question. I think if we're talking about best deck in the format, specifically you're talking like ladder, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so I think the best decks on ladder are Garruk and Nissa. I think, because they are both green decks. First of all, green is just
Turn is too strong.
Significantly stronger than other decks. I think I'm playing a Panharmonicon Nissa list.
Yep.
And mine's also less greedy. I play only 1 Lava Wave and only 1 Primal Summoning because I hate those games where you draw too much dead. I'm also playing the best land in the game, Refreshment Stand. You can fight me on that. It gives me an extra chance to have a 5-power creature for my Channeler of Mights. Gives me an extra card that I'm usually able to use better than my opponent. And I get my mana every turn, which is really important for Nissa, in my opinion.
That's an interesting take, because Boss MTG basically preferred using Refreshment Stand in his Nissa list as well. And his deck was very low to the ground. Like, he only ran Run Crush of Worms, and instead of Lava Waves, he ran Overruns.
Oh, I'm definitely on 2 Crush of Worms, and I don't overrun that much. I think you're going to beat them to death even without Trample.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think you need Overrun. I think it's Overkill. But Solidarity Boss MTG on the Refreshment Stand pick.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
He's definitely on the... He was the one who convinced me. He broke down the mathematics for Davriel why you should run Refreshment Stand in there if you're going combo.
Really fun. Yep. I should definitely look at that.
Well, I have the metrics, I think, still.
Yeah, well, send those to me to look at later. I would love that.
Sure.
But if I have to pick one deck to be the best in the format, I think it's... I'm just trying to decide if it's Garruk or Nissa. I think I gotta say, if I'm picking which Spellslinger is the best, I'm picking Nissa because there's multiple ways to build Nissa and it's more adaptable to meta changes. But I think overall, I think Garruk is the strongest just because his deck is so consistent, is so strong in mid-range, and has those 2 silent strikes to bail you out if a deck is starting to recover. I mean, when you slam a 7/7 ward
for 4
and strike it the next turn, not much an opponent can do. And then you treetop the Immolating Glare, like there's not a lot that can stop Garruk if he gets too much momentum in the early game.
That is true.
Removal is so good.
Oh yeah, it's really good. The next question is, what is the general game plan for your Nahiri deck?
Okay, so are you picking the Nahiri deck because I run it in the Mythic tournament?
Well, the next question is, what's your general plan for the Garruk deck?
Well, if I was still alive in the Mythic tournament, you hadn't taken me out. I have beaten Garruk's about 40%, 45% of the time with my Nahiri list when I'm playing against good Garruk players. And when I'm playing against like mediocre Garruk players, my win rate's more like 60 to 75, depending on the matchups. But I generally try to get Indomitable Strength going. I'm just trying to play as many creatures as I can earlier, even if that means I have to delay the axe by a turn. I want to get creatures going early, and I want to be the one forcing him to block so that he doesn't get death triggers on his own turn. Basically, I'm trying to get him low enough that I can sword up a Sky Knight Legionnaire and fly over for lethal. I was playing against the 8th place player at the time, and he was playing, I think, Profane Palace Garruk, and I swung 2/2 Sky Knight Legionnaire and a bigger creature on the ground. I think it was like a 6/2 Devoted Steed into him.
Yep.
His only creature was a 12/12 Coffaped, and I was banking on him blocking the flyer because he was at 11 health. Yep. So he blocked the flyer and took 6 from Devoted Steed and went to 5 health. Then he hit me for like 13 on his turn, putting me down to 11. And then he played his like Lifelinger because he was like, oh yeah, I'm safe. And then I just played a haste card, and then he died to Indomitable Strength before getting to declare blocks. Yep. So that's like one way to go. But you just have to be the aggressor. And the second part of the plan is just draw a core recruit.
Yep, core recruit's so good in so many matchups. He's so good against Garruk.
Yeah,
that's
the second part of the plan.
He's so good against Garruk. That is an interesting take. Usually with Nahiri, I just try and, if I have axe on one and I'm going first, I will usually just throw down the axe rather than throw an attacker. But getting the attacker can make the difference in like 3 damage early on, so I could see that.
Yeah.
So the next question was, what's your general game plan when you're using Garruk?
I haven't played Garruk in like 2.5 weeks. Basically, when I'm playing Garruk, you don't have like the 1-drops, right? In Garruk, you are a solidly mid-range deck. So like if you're going second, you're coining out a 2-drop, playing another 2-drop the next turn.
Yep.
Generally, I'm trying to be the aggressor with Garruk. I'm trying to be very careful as to when I use my axe, because I think that's what makes the difference between a good Garruk player and a bad Garruk player, is when you use the axe.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I be greedy. I try to play around Pinpoint Avenger. I try to play around ways that they're going to be able to kill my Curse Bearer. I'd rather keep a slightly smaller Curse Bearer alive than just throw a big Curse Bearer into a 2/2 blocker, when it's going to die. I almost always play around Immolating Glare, which, usually is good, because sometimes you'll be like, oh, I missed 7 damage because I didn't swing in the Immolating Glare, but you usually close that game out anyways.
Yep.
I'm always trying to count how many turns it is till I can kill them, whether it's 1 or 2 turns, and when to figure out, am I holding Silent Strike, am I playing Silent Strike? I'm always trying to keep my Dark Confidants alive for as many attacks as I can get, but I'm like almost never going to not attack with a Dark Confidant.
Oh, absolutely not. I'd attack into an Immolating Glare. Still getting the draw.
Yeah. I could go on a rant about going back to Nahiri and the Barbarian class trigger and the Immolating Glare thing not interacting the way I wanted to.
I know. We have official confirmation, unfortunately. It's really dumb. I know, I even had to dredge it up. One thing I would point out with the Garruk is, if you're facing against Chandra, you usually want to make sure you have 2 health, so that way you don't get board cleared by the Flame Shot.
Yeah, exactly. Good point. Chandra is a scary matchup when you're playing Garruk.
It's
tough.
Is.
Once you get those Death Shadows early, you might just lose.
Oh, yeah. So our next question is, what is your game plan for Vraska? I already in advance chose your 3 main decks. I assumed you played on ladder.
Oh, perfect, yeah. Is that the Vraska list I edited from Kohaku then that you're talking about?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay. Yeah.
Definitely not my list.
I played that for like a 2-week stint.
Yep.
And I'm trying to get as much value out of sacrificing my creatures as possible. I'm always trying to get that dream turn 1 Cocoon, turn 2 Recycled Grotesque thing going on. You're basically playing it very grindy. Depending on the matchup, I'm either trying to play an aggro deck or I'm trying to play a defensive mid-range deck. So you can really just go be really stompy with the Vraska deck because you can play massive Goos, massive Recycled Grotesques very early and just start beating your opponent to death and forcing them to make bad blocks.
Yep.
I have to have the deck list in front of me to be really specific, but I'm trying to save my Vraska's Thrones to sacrifice cards that have a finale. I'm trying usually not to sacrifice my Birds of Paradise. I'd rather hold those for chump blocks unless I don't have anything else to sacrifice. But usually I'll save up my Vraska's Throne charges unless I'm playing against a green deck that might run Elite Forest Guard, that kind of thing.
Makes sense.
The other thing with Vraska that I'll highlight is the best 2 cards. Well, I'll say 3 because this other one's been good for me too. The best 3 cards I enjoy seeing off of Vraska's Throne are Gutfire Devil, just because it's funny and it can be really good.
Mm-hmm.
I also enjoy the Bloodcrazed Vampire.
I hate that
having
guy.
a board of Bloodcrazed Vampires in your hand is amazing.
He's so
And then
good.
Ilharg has been so good for me. When you get 4 charges on the +2/+0 trample artifact, it's actually just wild how quickly that scales the game out of control.
I would like to add one more, and the one I think is the best is Devoted Cathar, because he just scums up the board so much.
I mean, yeah, you get a 4/2, it turns into 2/2/2 Relentless, that turns into 2/2/2
Yep.
again.
It's really hard for your opponent to full clear that off, unless
Yeah.
they transform you.
Yeah. I also will say I have had some fantastic Lightning Catcher lethals.
Yep. I mean, yeah, you'll see that when I post that up. I did Lightning Capture lethal you.
Whoa, no, that happened.
Yeah, it did.
But dude,
that
sucked, man.
That was such a lucky game.
You finessed me, like you high rolled it so hard.
I did.
I didn't block because that was my only line to win, was not blocking.
Just wait till you hear the dialogue.
Oh gosh.
How do you think you can improve at the game Magic Spellslingers, like you personally or anyone in general?
I'm gonna say this, maybe this is a hot take, but I don't think I'm that good of a Magic the Gathering player. I think I'm fine, but I'm not like super good. I haven't played a lot of competitive Magic, and so I don't have that like mindset of being like considering every possible line all the time, very quickly and under pressure. So I would say I still make mistakes. If you want to be a number 1 player, anyone listening to this, you do not need to be perfect. I think the main requirement to be number 1 is playing a lot and having a consistent win rate. Just knowing your deck and not making many egregious mistakes will get you there. And I guess the other thing that I'll say for people watching is that if you want to like be good and have those long grinding sessions, you really need to know how to get out of your own head when you do make mistakes. If you make like a game costing mistake, it's okay. It's just one game. You take 3 more games and you win back up. I know that sounds like a lot, but it's not like it's not impossible. Back to your question though on my improving myself, just not being afraid to run out my clock thinking about all my lines. Spellslingers doesn't give you that much time, but you definitely don't need all of it if you're not playing a combo deck. So not being afraid to use the time that you have. Don't worry if your opponent's going to start emote spamming you for slow play. Screw that.
You can turn their emotes off.
Yeah, I mean, take the time you need and think about your lines. And don't be afraid to take your thinking on turn 4. Like, don't end your turn on turn 4 when you're done. If you want to think about what you want to do on turn 5, take that time.
One thing I like to point out is that a good option is try not to get tilted. If you wind up losing a game, I'll just, if I lose a game, I'll just switch decks and try something else. Because it might just be a bad matchup for the current ladder.
Yeah, exactly.
So my next question is a pretty easy one. Do you love the game Magic Spellslingers?
Too much. I'm an addict. It's a problem.
Yeah. I think we all are at this point if we're still playing and they haven't updated in so long.
Yeah, exactly.
Is there anything you would like to be changed in the game? Not that we have any form of power or ability to do it.
I mean, the obvious answer is do cards.
Yeah.
I also like seeing new Spellslingers. Like, I know people were like, oh, we got Garruk, we got Davriel, we didn't get any new cards. Like, I'm still happy to get new slingers. It changes things a lot. Garruk really changed things. Davriel was pretty cool at first.
He was too broken. Night's Whisper when 1 mana, damn.
Yeah, that was wild.
Talaria grinded 3K.
Talaria, like all the way to number 1.
He hit 3K day 1.
Yeah, it was actually wild. But yeah, I would take new Spellslingers too. I think though, I would actually just, rather than focusing on the obvious answer, what I would say is I would like more consistent and more adequate communication from Wizards of the Coast as to what's going on. That's what I would.
Pretty much. I would like what they did like last year around this time. They posted, okay, well, we're dropping Soren and we're dropping Sarah. They haven't done any patch notes. They haven't done any new announcements on the webpage since the Garruk.
I mean, you know, still they at least are keeping the top 100 going, but like, yeah, it's not a lot.
It's not a lot. So I have one last question. You don't have to answer this one, but if you want to, what deck will you be grinding the next ladder season with?
So I kind of told myself, I was talking to my partner about this, and I had just gotten my partner into playing the game. I was kind of thinking, you know, I'm going to try and not grind too much, at least in this first month, November, because I got midterms, I got school and stuff, and honestly, I figured I would just mess around, try to do some more brewing, rather than just jamming the meta lists. But I am working on Vivian right now, and I'm having a lot of fun with that. And I'm trying to refine a Vivian list, you know. Ever since Vivian won that Mythic tournament,
Naya boy.
So,
yeah, that was a very different list too.
Yeah, I got a Hellrider in my list.
I was running Briar Foxes. Yeah, because they trigger upgrade.
I'm not a big fan of the Briar Fox.
I'm not either. But it got sneak.
I'm playing a Momia Vig in my list.
Yeah, you gotta play Momer. I think he's strong.
Yeah, I got a Peer the Dreamer. Cool list.
Yep. Well, that's all the questions I had for you. If you want to say any closing things, we can end this interview otherwise.
Oh, well, Blades, I got a question for you.
You have a question for me? Okay.
What's your next video after this one?
Well, my next video is pretty obvious. It's going to be the video I just pointed at, the Mythic League 8 Round 1 video. But then I'm also working on some other stuff, me and my brother actually did a skit for Goblin Slayer Goes to See the Potion Seller. And, you know, it's like a whole skit where the potion seller doesn't want to sell. It's a whole meme thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess if I have any message to everyone playing the game, don't give up. The game's really great even as is. If this is the last update I ever get, I think that's fine. I'll keep playing this for quite a while.
Also be fun.
But I encourage you all to come join the LGS Discord and play in our Mythic League tournaments. We had a pretty big turnout. I think our second highest turnout ever this month, over 16 players.
We had 23.
23.
23
wow.
players this time.
That's so many. Yeah, we love getting more people in. We're happy if you stick around, and we are happy to show you the ropes. We're a pretty good group. And MTGSS Plan 3, we're looking for more members, so get in here. Is our requirement still platinum?
It's still platinum. I could drop it if we really need to.
Yeah, well, we'll get you in here.
Yeah. If we see the interest, we could drop it. Yeah. Alright, well that will do it for this interview. Boss Blades signing out. Thank you for your time, Knight. Enjoy the rest of your day.
I had to gas off. Oppers fool me, so I put my mask on. Keep the tool me, gotta keep the 9 high. Flexing Louis V, yeah, keep my cash on. Sticking true to me, I never had to gas off. I'ma pop off, yeah, I said I'll pop off.